of all, I was very disappointed in finding out via social media because our family is closer than that. And to have someone else regurgitate that story to us. I can only speak for me. But for someone else to tell me the story of something that happened to my own family is very disheartening.
The cracks in the Braxton legacy were always whispered about, but now those whispers have exploded into the open. The men who once shared their last names as ex-husbands aren't holding back. And when you add the voice of Ashley Braxton, the niece who grew up silenced and cast aside, the mask finally rips. The music, the glamour, the so-called sisterhood, it was all just a cover. Beneath it? Betrayal, bitterness, and a toxic loyalty that kept wounds bleeding for generations. At just 16, Ashley Braxton says her world shattered after an inappropriate relationship with one of her aunt's husbands. Instead of protection, she got blame. Instead of arms, she got silence. The shame forced her to flee not just her family, but her country. She was a child begging to be saved, but her family left her to drown. Years later, when she told her story online, strangers believed her. Her blood didn't. Evelyn Braxton stayed silent. Her father, Mikey, threatened to sue her. The only one who reached out was Tamara Braxton, who admitted she had survived trauma. But the silence of the others was louder than Tamara's compassion. To Wanda, Trina, Tony, not a word. Not a gesture of support. The same sisters who built a brand on unity abandoned the one who needed them most. And it wasn't the first time. When Tamara Braxton revealed she was abused as a child, her sisters didn't shield her. They didn't embrace her. They dismissed it with polished words, calling it her truth, not the truth. In a family where image mattered more than empathy, silence became the cruelest weapon. And all of it traced back to Evelyn Braxton, the mother who caged secrets instead of exposing them. Then came the ex-husbands, peeling back the curtain with brutal honesty. Carrie Lewis, Tony's ex, revealed Tony's career was never as solo as the world believed. He said she leaned on her sisters, borrowing Tamar's riffs, using Tawanda and Trina as background scaffolding while she stood in the spotlight. Andre Carter, Tawanda's ex, dropped a bomb of his own. He said being married to her felt like quicksand, weighed down by fraud, money problems, and the shadow of Evelyn's bitterness. His words cut deep. I feel like I married my mother, and I didn't even like my mother. According to Andre, resentment reached its peak when Tamara became the breakout star. Her spin-offs, her solo career, her fame, it left her sisters scrambling for scraps. What should have been a blessing turned into a war. Tawanda and Trina blamed Tamara for their stalled careers, for their shattered group, for dreams that slipped away while she soared. Jealousy turned into survival, and survival turned into daggers. Their reality show caught it all: sharp arguments, constant bickering, sisters cutting each other down for validation. And when money entered the picture, the cracks split wide open. Fraud charges, unpaid rent, forgery allegations, scandals followed the sisters like shadows. Even Tracy Braxton, the quiet one, couldn't escape financial struggles. And through it all, Tony and Tamara were painted as divas, swooping in when it suited them, but never without a sting. For the sisters left behind, help came with a price tag, not with love. When the less successful sisters reached out for help, they weren't met with compassion. They were reminded who held the money, who held the fame, who held the crown. This wasn't family, it was hierarchy. Tony Braxton at the top with Grammys. Tamara Braxton close behind with breakout fame. The rest were left fighting for scraps, while Evelyn Braxton sided with power. Because in this family, money spoke louder than love, and silence was cheaper than honesty. The confessions of Ashley Braxton and the ex-husbands merged into one undeniable truth. The sisters were never just sisters. They were rivals, competitors, at times, enemies trapped under one roof. And at the root was a mother who caged pain, and a father who walked away. The Braxton legacy wasn't broken overnight, it was built on cracks that were always there. Every trail of broken marriages, fraud cases, and bitter resentment circles back to Evelyn Braxton. She stopped Tamara from naming her abuser. She taught her daughters that every man cheats except Obama. She chose favorites when money was at stake. And those lessons became poison that her daughters carried into every relationship of their lives. Tony Braxton's marriage collapsed. Her relationship with Birdman was haunted by whispers of his double life. Tamara Braxton walked through 3 marriages and 3 divorces, each one exploding in public. Tawanda Braxton's union with Andre Carter fell apart under court summons and fraud cases. Trina Braxton went from Gabe Solis's insults to another shaky marriage. Even Tracy Braxton, the quiet soldier, endured betrayal in silence. Their father, Michael Braxton Sr., abandoned them after the divorce and married his mistress. That wound shaped everything. Toni admitted she felt chained by the responsibility of carrying her sisters. Tamara broke down on camera, confessing she felt isolated in her own bloodline. Tawanda and Trina leaned on men who drained them instead of building them. Tracy carried pain until her last breath. The ex-husbands weren't just gossiping, they were witnesses to generational dysfunction. Carrie Lewis said Toni leaned on her sisters to keep her career afloat. Andre Carter said Tawanda carried Evelyn's bitterness into their marriage. Gabe Solis mocked Trina until she was numb. Kevin Sorrett betrayed Tracy and ended up cut out of her will. And Tamara's men Vince Herbert, David Adefeso watched her explode under trauma she couldn't heal. Their reality show packaged dysfunction as entertainment, but the truth was darker. It wasn't just playful arguments, it was trauma replaying itself in real time. Every rise came with a fall. Every confession was met with silence. Every search for love ended in betrayal. And through it all, Evelyn Braxton didn't break the cycle, she fed it. Choosing sides, silencing pain, and teaching her daughters that loyalty mattered more than truth. Tamara Braxton's marriages collapsed under the weight of trauma she never had the space to heal. She begged for sisterhood, but what she got was resentment. And so, her relationships became a mirror of her childhood home: broken trust, loud fights, betrayal disguised as love, and an endless cycle of instability. The very dysfunction she grew up around followed her into every vow she made. Tawanda Braxton's marriage to Andre Carter was no fairy tale either, it was slow destruction. A daily bleed of frustration and bitterness. Andre admitted he felt suffocated, that Tawanda reminded him of Evelyn Braxton, a woman he never respected. Tawanda was hustling to survive, facing fraud allegations, court summons, and financial collapse, while Andre felt invisible in his own marriage. Their dysfunction wasn't hidden. It was dragged through headlines and played out in courtrooms. And when Tawanda reached for her sisters, the response wasn't comfort, it was judgment dressed as pity. Trina Braxton endured humiliation at the hands of Gabe Solis. Their toxic carousel of betrayal and reconciliation was splashed across TV screens, each reconciliation only circling back to disaster. Gabe mocked her in public, reduced her dignity on camera, and left her carrying scars even after the marriage ended. When she later married Vaughn Scales, it looked like a new chapter. The whisper suggested the balance was off. Trina seemed desperate to prove she had finally found stability, while critics claimed Vaughn enjoyed the perks of being tied to a Braxton more than he cherished Trina herself. And then there was Tracy Braxton, the overlooked sister, often pushed to the sidelines, treated as an afterthought. She bore betrayal in silence when her husband, Kevin Sorrett, allegedly fathered a child outside their marriage. She forgave him, but she never truly forgot. Beneath her quiet exterior, Tracy was planning. She didn't shout it, she didn't post it, but she prepared her legacy. When her health declined and she knew time was running out, Tracy made her move. In her will, she cut Kevin out completely. Everything went to her son, Kevin Jr., nothing to the man who had broken her heart. In death, Tracy delivered her final message: I saw it all, and you get nothing. That decision thundered louder than any fight the sisters ever had on reality TV. Fans called it her last act of independence. Some called it petty, others called it poetic justice. But one thing was undeniable: it was deliberate. Tracy, who had played the role of loyal wife, loyal sister, loyal soldier, finally flipped the script. She left this world on her own terms. All of this chaos, every failed marriage, every lawsuit, every betrayal, traces back to the foundation laid by Evelyn Braxton and Michael Braxton Sr. Evelyn raised her daughters with fire, but also with bitterness. She taught them that men cannot be trusted, that loyalty is conditional, that silence keeps order. Michael proved her right when he abandoned the family for another woman, scarring his daughters for life. Together, they planted seeds of distrust, pain, and rivalry. And those seeds grew into daughters who never learned how to truly love or truly protect each other. Truly love or truly protect each other. The ex-husbands saw it all. They lived in it. Carrie Lewis revealed that Toni leaned on her sister's talent to keep her career afloat. Andre Carter said Tawanda carried her mother's poison into their marriage. Gabe Solis mocked Trina until her spirit broke. Kevin Sorrett betrayed Tracy and paid for it in the end. Tamara's men Vince Herbert, David Adefeso stood helpless as Tamara's trauma exploded in front of the world. And through every confession, every court filing, every leaked headline, the same truth echoed: the Braxtons were too busy competing, too busy protecting their own pain, to ever save each other. Braxton Family Values tried to package their dysfunction as entertainment, but the reality was darker than cameras could capture. It wasn't just sisters arguing for drama, it was generational trauma playing out in real time. Every rise was met with someone else's fall. Every cry was swallowed in silence. Every search for love ended in betrayal. And at the center of it all, Evelyn Braxton, instead of breaking the curse, often fed it, choosing favorites, silencing voices, letting bitterness guide the household. Now fans look back and ask, was it worth it? Were the Grammys, the reality shows, the spotlight worth the destruction? Because the Braxton stand is living proof of something tragic: you can sing about love without ever feeling it. You can sell unity while secretly despising the person next to you. You can have fame, wealth, and recognition and still live in chains of silence. That is the true Braxton legacy. Not just music, not just fame, but secrets, silence, and trauma wrapped in harmonies. A dynasty built on loyalty without honesty. A crown polished on the outside, but rotting at the core. And once the lies spilled through Ashley, through the ex-husbands, through the children, the empire shattered for the entire world to see.